Beard Wizard family. Boy, this hat's ridiculous. Anyway, welcome to Beard Wizard Reviews. I'm your host, Beard Wizard Man, also known as Trevor on social media. Links to all of which you can find in the video description below, including links to this topic we're going to talk about today, but also ways to support the channel. Biggest way to support us, though, is click that red subscribe button, join the Beard Wizard family, and push us to our goal of 2,000 subscribers by April. We are getting there. We're so close. I'm astonished. You know, I was talking to my wife earlier today, a couple sidebars. This is a live review show. This is what happens on a live review show. So hopefully you guys enjoy that format, because I do too. It feels more personal, feels more real. So, sidebar to the sidebar to the sidebar. I was talking to my wife this morning about, I remember when 10 subscribers in 6 months was crazy for me. And then 10 in a couple of weeks was you know, something. And now 18, I crossed the 1800 threshold yesterday, and this morning I woke up to 1811. So all of you who have joined the Beard Wizard family, who have joined the channel, who have subscribed and decided that you want to give a little bit of your time to this channel, is just astounding. And I'm so thankful and appreciative of that. I just can't say it enough. So thank you so much. Keep sharing it out there. Keep sharing the positive stuff out there, the things that you like in the world. That's why I do this show. You know, I do a lot of other things on this channel. I do a lot of gaming. I do a lot of rants. I do a lot of all kinds of stuff. But the Beard Wizard Reviews and Indie Spotlight before it, the purpose of that was to share stuff that I enjoy with other people, because so many people are out there complaining about things that they don't like, or this TV show or that comic book or that book or this music or whatever that they hate for one reason or another. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with criticizing things, but maybe share the things you love a little more than you crap on the things you don't, because there are a lot of indie creators out there, a lot of indie comic creators, a lot of indie musicians, indie authors who are struggling for an audience, who are desperate for people to take a look at their work. And they're being buried under the constant negativity online. So when you find a show you like, you find a comic you like, or a book you like, or music or whatever, tell people about it. Share it out there. Tell the world. Overshadow all the negativity is all I'm going to say. Sorry, I need a drink. And what's with the ridiculous hat? Well, this is actually a very warm hat, and it's kind of chilly in here today, and I shaved my head today. I got a little lazy with the shaving, if you hadn't noticed the last few streams. And my head's a little chilly today, and this is kind of in honor of my team going to their 5th AFC championship. If you're not a football fan, that's cool. I don't dislike you if you're not a football fan. But if you are a football fan, it's going to be an exciting weekend. So I'm going to root for the Chiefs as much as I can in every opportunity. And since I don't have to wear my headset for this stream, I can wear this weird looking hat, which is actually very warm and very comfortable. It just looks silly as hell, which is fine. I wanted the one with the mohawk, but we couldn't find it. So maybe this year, maybe next year, I don't know. We're going to find the one with the mohawk. And when I do, I'm going to wear it on stream. So what are we talking about today? Today it is normally Free Comic Book Day, so we're going to do a comic book review. I decided to try to move these to Wednesday if I could because of that. We're talking about Changeling from Mythoverse Comics, and the creator, artist, and writer. Let me pull this up so I don't get anything wrong. We've got Brett McGowan, who, again, opening up with the disclosure that I was given a review copy. So that you guys know that going into it. If you are watching reviews or listening or reading reviews who are not disclosing how they're getting their product, you might want to tell them they should be doing that. Anyway, I was given this review copy from Brett McGowan. He is the writer and creator of Changeling, subtitled An Urban Fairy Tale. Pencils and inks by Victor Campan. Colors and letters by Ginger Foxy. Logo design Zero Fox. So given this in my when I reached out to the community and said, hey, I want to start doing comic book reviews on the show, Brett reached out to me and sent me this book, and it really caught my eye when I opened it. I have been fighting that sneeze for like the last 2 minutes. Sorry. It really caught my eye when I opened it because the cover, the colors, the art, the sort of broken glass element, like that's a really intriguing cover. And honestly, that's one of the things that pulls you into a comic book that's new. And I talk about this a lot when I talk about indie comics or talk about indie books. When you don't have the benefit of a major label's logo, like Marvel, DC, Tor Books, Random House, you don't have that instant level of trust that you're going to have with the general public when you're under those titles. And now, take that with a grain of salt. I have no level of trust for Marvel or DC, but the general public, when they see those logos, that's the first thing they notice. Oh, it's a Marvel comic, it's an Image comic, it's a DC comic. It's probably going to be good. The general audience thinks that. So when you're coming out with an indie book, where nobody knows the title, nobody knows the legacy characters, you don't have that foundation or that major publisher behind you, you've got to lead hard and heavy with your best, the best eye-catching, in this case, cover artwork, sometimes concept, sometimes a unique style or a unique theme. And every book we've reviewed so far on this show has had that coming out of the gate, has always been something. And that's what I'm picking up on. I'm going through all of these and I'm seeing things that are drawing me instantly to the book. And that's what helps these indie books get that sort of, that's what they need to get picked up, is they need something that catches you out of the eye. So right away, the cover's great. That is what stopped me when I was going through all the books I wanted to look at this week for this review. That cover, so well done there right out of the gate. Color, composition, the artwork, the broken sort of glass image that you can see, and right away the image doesn't make sense in a way, because you're seeing two different depictions of this character through the glass, but that's a good thing, because it instantly gives you a question. It instantly intrigues you with a mystery. Why does she look like that in the different panels of the glass? Why is her skin different colors? Why are her eyes different? Why is she different? And that's right there. That's your hook, in a sense. That's what draws you into the comic. I want to find out why she looks like this. Why is the cover like this? And it is in the story. Sometimes, and you find this a lot with the major publishers too, is the cover isn't always related to the story. And that always frustrated me as a comic reader, because I would pick up a Spider-Man cover, an X-Men cover, and I would see something on it that intrigued me. And then as I read it, I'm like, the cover has nothing to do with the book. And often that was, when they would hire out cover artists, just to do a cover. Okay, give me a cover with Wolverine. And he would just do the coolest Wolverine cover or whatever. But he didn't actually have any grasp of what the story was about. So you just got a really cool Wolverine cover, and when you were flipping through the book, it had nothing to do with the story. So again, the cover here, that's what you want, because that's what pulled me in. That's what made me stop and look at this book. And if the story didn't explain this, it would have been a disappointment. But the story does. So good job, guys. The story, speaking of the story itself, so that you all know what we're dealing with, I'm going to pull up my notes here so I don't miss anything. At the core of it, this is a story about a young fey girl, fairy fey, if you're not familiar with that parlance, who is a changeling, and she doesn't know it at first. She believes she's human, raised by human parents. She looks human. She has all the things that young human, teenagers deal with. But because of a chance meeting with another fae, her entire world is, in a sense, shattered. Her entire self-image is just destroyed, because she realizes she's not what she always thought she was. On the comic book, the page where you can go buy the comic book, they describe it. It's got a very short description, but it says young Maeve Mackenzie, Maeve is our protagonist here, learns that she's a changeling, a fae baby traded for a human baby. So I love that because I like mythology. I love history. I love how different cultures interpreted the superstitions and the unexplained. Throughout history, man has always tried to explain the unexplainable. And whether you believe they were trying to understand science or trying to understand the things that their imagination created in the dark, whatever it was, we have always tried to explain with our limited knowledge at the time the world around us. So, when you go back to primitive man, who does not understand the world the way we understand it today, they would see things or experience things and try to explain them. And often that's where we got fairy tales and legends and myths and superstitions and all that, because, humans at the time are trying to explain the world around them. So that's where fae comes from, or the fairy. And I like that they tapped into that mythology of the changeling, the babies exchanged, the fairy babies exchanged for human babies for one reason or another. That's pulled right out of mythology of several cultures. So that's very cool. And within the story, Maeve, to take their description a little further, Maeve is dealing with how does she reconcile her heritage with her Christian faith. She's struggling with being a teenager who's not exactly accepted. To put on top of that, she is not human. She realizes she's not normal, so she feels not normal, like many teenagers do. And then she realizes she isn't. She really isn't normal. She isn't human. And so she has to deal with that. She's on medication. Now, we don't know for what exactly. The story kind of alludes to she sees things. Maybe because of her fae powers, there's one point where she has a dream about a dead girl. I think she's having a dream about a dead girl who she apparently can see, or maybe she's having a memory where she could see the dead. But it sounds like, or it seems like, she's taking medication for either seeing things or being kind of paranoid or depression. But so you've got a teenage girl dealing with her own self-image, her own identity, in a sense, her identity, is she human or not, and her faith. And I think those are all handled very well within the story, which is good, because those are touchy topics, and sometimes you can get very preachy with those kinds of topics. You can deal with them in a way that's very heavy-handed, or you can deal with them in a very subtle, clever way. And the story, Brett, with the writing, did a great job of dealing with those topics with a sensitive hand, a well-written and clever hand. And I have to give him kudos for that, because it doesn't always happen. A lot of times, especially religion, politics are the two big ones that often, when those creep into stories, they're handled very abruptly, it seems like, in recent years anyway. So to have a story with somebody struggling with faith, there's no disrespect to Christian faith. There's no mockery. There's none of that. One of the characters in the book is a little bit disrespectful, but it's not treated within the story as if it's a bad thing, which happens a lot, and that's unfortunate, because all of us have different beliefs and faiths, and when you treat them all like a joke, you're going to lose people that you might potentially have influenced or had enjoy your story if you had just not done that. Anyway, but overall, the story is where this book shines. The writing is great. The story, the development, the background, the world building, all of that is fantastically done. And that's really where the book shines. Not to say the rest of the parts of the comic aren't good, but the story is by far the best part of the book itself. And so good job on Brett's part as far as crafting a great story to start with a good foundation and delivering good dialogue, delivering good story throughout the book. The second book I read, I'm not really going to review too much here. I just read it to see where the story goes, and they do a good job of keeping it interesting, keeping you going, and hooking you throughout the rest. So we'll talk about availability and stuff at the end. But yeah, issue 2 continues with a good story and all of that. I do think this story would also appeal to young readers because it deals with topics that young people, teenagers, are dealing with, but it's not written so young that adults couldn't enjoy it either. So it's not, I wouldn't classify it strictly as a young adult type story. It certainly deals with those elements and those themes, but it's not written in a juvenile way. It's not written in a way that I think wouldn't appeal to adult readers. I think it's very appealing to both adults and young people. As far as the art style, we'll talk about the art style here in a second. We'll zoom in and take a look at a couple panels here in a second. This is the part where things always get a little wonky with the stream because we're doing it live, but it's okay because I don't like all the edits and cuts. So we are going to bring this up. All right, so like we talked about the cover already, fantastic job. And throughout the book, you're going to notice, and I noticed, that the use of color is fantastic. That's really such a fantastic eye-catching part of the book. And it's not always done well in indie books, which is why I think some books go black and white. Other indie books, there's probably multiple reasons, whether it be cost or whether it be ability or just liking the sort of aesthetic of a black and white. For example, Rags, a comic that we're actually going to talk about here in just as briefly in just a second, and I may hopefully get to review their next release. That book is almost all black and white except for a few specific parts, and that tells you it was a stylistic choice. They wanted it that way on purpose for style reasons, and it works very well in that book. But as far as this book in colors, you can see very bright, great use of pastels versus bright colors, and for the most part, the art is good. There are it's a very anime style art, which is not my first preference, but it doesn't mean it's bad. It's just a personal preference of mine. Not that I don't like anime, that I don't like manga. It's just not, when I'm reading, Western comics, it's not the first style I would be drawn to. But it's well done. I think it's well drawn. Good clean lines. Everything, like, you can tell what things are, obviously. But it's not drawn in an amateur way, which you find a lot with indie comics. Some of the figures are a little stiff in certain panels, but it's very stylized too. So it's not like, we're not looking for like ultra, anatomically correct characters or anything like that. It's very stylized. It's very anime. And that is, looking at, oh shoot, I'm going to forget his name, Victor. When you look at his art, like, that's his style. This is his style right here. I did like, again, you got the use of color, like in these panels here, is great. And I love that not a lot of detail was used when you didn't need to use it. I think this is where some comic book artists, not just indie artists, but also mainstream artists, can ruin a book by trying to put too much detail into a background. Like, we know through those couple of panels there that you've got a crowd of people dancing. You don't need to try to draw every single individual. Now, you could, and a lot of times when people try, things get too busy, the panels get too crowded, too cluttered, and things look messy. We really only need to worry about these characters here. Now, on the flip side, on the other side of it, some artists, or especially indie artists, will sometimes leave these panels completely blank with no background, maybe just some color, and just give us the characters in the forefront, which then kind of makes the world feel empty. So I think they found a good balance here with the art when it comes to the backgrounds, making sure that the backgrounds are there, that the world doesn't feel empty, but not getting it too cluttered, not getting it too messy with detail. You know, again, here in the panel with the her parents talking in the kitchen, figures are a little stiff, but it's not the same throughout. So it's almost like there are certain characters that are given a little bit more love, if that makes sense. But overall, the art was good. The colors are fantastic. I really enjoyed looking through the book as much as I did reading it. And great use of background, great use of you know, when you've got these scenes and you know where you are is what I'm trying to get at. The backgrounds keep you in the world. We don't have a lot of panels that are just blank and empty that kind of lose you on where you're at, what's going on in the world. So I love that. I also liked the addition of, and I'm going to scroll really fast because I don't want to show you guys everything. I don't want to ruin the whole book for you. But when we get to the extra material, that's really cool. This first issue comes with some extra material, which I really enjoyed. So I'm going to flip really fast through there. So sorry if that made anybody motion sick, but I didn't want to ruin the whole book for you. So I liked this too, the inclusion. I always like the extra features, the bonus stuff. And so you get some inclusion of like sketch work and what they were thinking in the design of things like the rooms, the house that she lives in, her room, her bedroom. What does it look like? What is it decorated with? So that's kind of cool. So we've got a lot of that, which is neat, and some panel concept work from sketch to final and all of that. And then we get into the community art. And this was kind of neat because I saw two names that stood out to me. Now, obviously, I don't know every artist that did all the work. So if I don't specifically call you out, it's not because I don't like the art. But the two that caught my eye is right here from Leonore. I follow Leonore on Twitter. I recommend you follow Leonore on Twitter. She does some great art. Also some funny posts and really cool stuff on her page. And then, speaking of Rags right here, Rags with Maves is kind of cool. Regina Rakowski, if you haven't had a chance to check out Rags comic, check it out. But this is not about Rags comic. I just thought that was neat to see sort of how the community has come together and embraced this book, embraced this character to the point where they're sending in their own work to be included or really showing how this book and this creator and this team has sort of been embraced by the indie comic community. That's really neat to see. And it was kind of cool to see artists and creators that I know that I've interacted with and books that I've read. So that was kind of neat to see. That's why I wanted to call that out. So check out the book. I really think it's a great book. It was a great read. The story, again, shines. The art's good, but the story is really where this is at. It's a beautiful book to flip through. It's got some great pieces in it as far as the art goes. The story is fantastic. Like this not every comic book would work as sort of a larger, novella or novel type story, but I think this story would. I like where it's going. It's got good background. I'd like to see the world expanded. I'm interested to see where it goes, how the human world and the Fae world in this particular universe, if you want to call it that, interact. I've read a lot of books that are set in the real world but deal with like fairy or the world of Fae. And they all deal with that a little differently. So I'm interested to see where this goes with that sort of mythology. So good choice in using that. I think it appeals to all ages, at least so far. I haven't seen anything I would call too extreme, too violent, too sexual, but it's not written too young. So check it out. There are links in the video description below. You can get issue 1 at the Mythoverse website. Issue 2 is currently being fulfilled through the Kickstarter, and I guess hopefully it will be available later after that's done. But definitely check out issue 1. If you have the money, do buy the physical copy. That always helps the creators out. As far as I know, that helps them out more, at least as an indie author. Buying the physical book from me is much better than it is buying the digital or even the audio. But whatever your preferred format, definitely check it out. I think it's worth a read. I think it's a great book, and looking forward to where these guys go with it, what else they deliver. And Mythoverse, check out the Mythoverse website in general. They don't have a ton of books yet, but it looks like they're trying to build sort of a community platform for indie books and do their own thing. And as far as I'm concerned, the more indie companies, the more indie books and publishers that are out there, the better. We need to start, I don't know, we need to start offering some alternatives to all the other junk that's getting put out by the mass media and major publishers recently. So anyway, let me know what you think. Tell me in the comments. Come back for more. Thank you, whoever was here. I really appreciate you. And yeah, check out this book. It's a great book. I'll see you guys all again soon. You have a great one. Much love. Bye. Oh,